I want to share my story because, honestly, it's a mess that most people wouldn't believe if I laid it all out. My name's Jake, and I was married to a woman named Lisa for 5 years before everything crashed down. We seemed like the perfect couple, but underneath, there were cracks I chose to ignore. We had our routine. I'd work my 9 to 5, and she'd hit the gym or hang out with her girlfriends. Life was good, or so I thought. Lisa always had a bit of a temper. She'd get snappy over the smallest things, but I brushed it off as stress from her job. I thought our relationship was solid, but there were signs I should have paid attention to. Like how she started getting home later than usual or how she'd get anxious if I asked her about her day. It was subtle at first, but eventually I started feeling like I was living with a stranger. Then there was my buddy Mike. We known each other since high school, and I invited him to hang out more often, thinking it would boost Lisa's mood. The three of us would play video games together, something we all enjoyed. But over time, Lisa would give Mike this look. I couldn't explain it, but it felt different. It was like she was treating him like her personal therapist or something. I brushed it off as my imagination. The first big red flag came when I noticed Lisa's phone was always face down. It wasn't unusual for her to be glued to her screen, but one day I caught a glimpse of a message from some guy named Kyle. I didn't think much of it at the time. It could have been work-related or something. But the longer it went on, the more my gut twisted in knots. There were whispers of late nights and girls' nights that seemed a little too frequent. I began to wonder if I was just paranoid or if there was something more sinister happening. One night, I decided to dig a little deeper. After a long day at work, I came home later than usual, and Lisa was already asleep. I casually took her phone from the nightstand, my heart racing as I unlocked it. I started scrolling through her messages, and what I found made my stomach drop. There were flirty exchanges between her and Mike, filled with inside jokes and heart emojis. They were talking about meeting up when I was working late and even suggestive messages about how much they missed each other. That was it. I felt like my entire world tilted on its axis. I dropped the phone like it was burning hot, and my heart pounded in my chest. I couldn't believe my wife was cheating on me with my best friend. I paced around the room, trying to process everything, the anger boiling inside me. I felt betrayed and humiliated, and I knew I had to confront her the next day. When I confronted Lisa the next morning, she played innocent. "Jake, you're being ridiculous. Just because I texted Mike doesn't mean anything. You know how he is always joking around." I couldn't believe the audacity. I threw her phone at her, and she must have realized I wasn't buying her excuses anymore. Her demeanor shifted. She went from defensive to aggressive. "Fine. You want to know the truth. Mike and I have been seeing each other for a few months. He understands me in ways you never could." Her words cut deeper than I thought possible. I felt a rush of emotions, anger, betrayal, and a deep sadness. I never thought I'd be the guy whose wife cheated on him with his best friend. The confrontation escalated, and I walked out needing air. I spent the day with my head spinning, replaying every moment of our marriage, searching for the signs I had ignored. It was like a surreal nightmare, and I couldn't wake up. How could she do this to us? How could Mike betray me like this? I knew I had to make a decision, but at that moment all I felt was the raw pain of betrayal. I wanted revenge, but I also wanted to know what I was capable of beyond the heartbreak. What would I do next? How would I move forward from here? I guess that was the beginning of a whole new chapter in my life. After that confrontation with Lisa, I went through a whirlwind of emotions. I didn't sleep at all that night. My mind was racing, replaying everything from our wedding vows to the moments we shared. I felt like a fool, and I hated Mike for putting me in this position, but I was equally furious with Lisa. It's one thing to have your spouse cheat, it's another when it's with your best friend. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I spent the next few days in a haze, trying to figure out what to do next. I avoided her and canceled plans with Mike, who kept reaching out, clueless about what was happening. Part of me wanted to tell him that I knew what went down, but another part of me wanted to see how long I could keep him in the dark. I guess I wanted to draw out the revenge, and it felt almost intoxicating. Every time I saw Lisa, she'd act as if nothing was wrong. She'd throw out casual comments about dinner plans or ask if I needed anything from the store, but underneath her calm facade I could see the desperation. She wasn't ready to lose me, but I was done playing the fool. I needed to devise a plan to regain control over my life. That weekend, I decided to meet up with some friends at a bar. I needed to clear my head, and I needed to vent. As I sat there nursing a beer, I shared my story. My friends were shocked and angry, ready to help me plot some sort of revenge. That's when I realized I had a golden opportunity. I could use my knowledge of Lisa's and Mike's habits against them. Here, what I came up with. I would act like I was ready to reconcile, play nice, and then pull the rug out from under both of them. I knew that Mike was a gamer just like me, and the online world offered countless ways to get back at them while keeping my hands clean. I could manipulate their gaming sessions, make Mike doubt everything, and let Lisa think I was still in love with her. It was time to outplay them both. Over the next few weeks, I played my part well. I pretended to be understanding of Lisa's feelings, making it seem like I wanted to work things out. I showed her affection, but I always kept a distance. Meanwhile, I started to hang out with Mike more, pretending to be supportive. I feigned ignorance, laughing at his jokes, and even shared in his excitement over new video game releases. Inside, though, I was planning my revenge. It was during one of our gaming nights that I devised my first move. We were playing a competitive online game, and I casually dropped the idea of forming a secret alliance in the game. I told Mike that we could take the top spots in the leaderboard if we worked together. He was all in, of course, not knowing that I was secretly plotting to expose him. The plan was simple. I'd create a fake account and pretend to be a new player looking for mentorship. I would lead Mike to believe I was a noob, feeding him information to help him gain an advantage. But what he didn't know was that I was also feeding Lisa the same information, dropping hints about Mike's secret strategies in conversations. It felt good to be in control, even if it was just a game. I could see how Mike and Lisa's interactions became more strained as they unknowingly sabotaged each other. Lisa would complain to me about Mike's insistence on trying to win every match, and then I would casually mention how Mike was planning to steal the victory from under her. This game of back and forth started to take its toll on both of them. They became more stressed, and it was almost too easy to manipulate the situation. Meanwhile, I was feeling more empowered each day. I was no longer the victim. I was the puppet master, and I relished it. But while I enjoyed the thrill of my plan, I also had to confront my own feelings. Deep down, I still loved Lisa, despite everything. I remembered the good days when we had fun together. I started questioning my motivation. Was I really doing this for revenge, or was I trying to prove that I was worth more than what they had made me feel? As I continued this charade, I learned more about myself than I ever expected. Each time I saw Lisa, I felt a mix of anger and love battling inside me. Could I really bring myself to let go, or was I merely prolonging the inevitable? I knew I had to make a decision soon, but for now, the game was on and I was playing to win. So, what would be my next move? I was ready to pull the trigger on my ultimate plan, but I had no idea how deeply it would affect everyone involved. As my scheme continued to unfold, I found myself increasingly absorbed in the game I was playing, not just in the literal sense of video games, but in the twisted emotional chess match I had created. I had become both the player and the referee in this chaotic showdown between Lisa and Mike. It was exhilarating, but it also left me feeling hollow. I was dancing around my own feelings, pretending that I had it all figured out. The following week, I ramped up my tactics. I reached out to Lisa, suggesting we have a date night to rekindle some of the magic we once had. I wanted to keep her off balance, unaware that I was orchestrating her failure. As we sat across from each other at a restaurant, I put on my best facade. I laughed at her jokes and even reminisced about our honeymoon, maintaining an air of romantic nostalgia. But inside, I was calculating my next move. After dinner, I casually mentioned how Mike had been feeling the pressure from his recent gaming losses. I could see a flicker of concern in her eyes. He told me he feels like he's letting everyone down. I said, You should talk to him, maybe he just needs some support. Lisa nodded, concerned for Mike, completely oblivious to the fact that I was the one pulling the strings. I was pushing her toward Mike, further deepening the wedge between them. The more I played my part as the supportive husband, the more I could see Lisa's guilt creeping in. She wanted to feel good about herself, but the truth was that she was living a lie. Later that week, I decided to up the ante. I created a new account on the gaming platform, choosing a name that mirrored my frustrations. I wanted to keep things anonymous but also make it clear that I was someone who had a bone to pick with Mike. I started messaging him, pretending to be a competitor who had my sights set on taking him down. I fed him information that made him second-guess Lisa every time they played together. "Hey, Mike, you know Lisa's been teaming up with that guy Kyle, right? I heard she has some strategy she's not telling you about." I wrote, pretending to be just another gamer caught up in the drama. I could almost hear the gears in his head turning as he read the message. The next time Mike and Lisa played together, the tension was palpable. Lisa came to me afterward, visibly frustrated. "I swear, Jake, Mike thinks I'm plotting against him. He's so paranoid," she exclaimed. I feigned surprise, putting on my best concerned husband act. "Maybe he's just feeling the pressure from the games. You know how competitive he can get," I said, suppressing a smirk. Inside, I was reveling in the chaos I had created. This was the best kind of revenge, one that made them turn against each other while I remained the calm observer. But soon, things took a turn I hadn't anticipated. One evening, I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone when I received a notification from my gaming account. It was a message from Mike, asking to meet up for a drink. I hesitated at first, wondering how I would keep up my facade. But a part of me knew this was an opportunity I couldn't pass up. I met Mike at a bar, and the moment I walked in, I could tell he was on edge. He was fidgeting with his drink, glancing around the room nervously. I slid into the booth opposite him, adopting a casual demeanor. "Hey man, good to see you. How's the gaming going?" He looked up, his eyes darting to mine, and began to spill his guts. "It's been rough, man. Lisa's been acting weird lately. I feel like she's hiding something from me, like she's in cahoots with someone else." I kept my expression neutral, but inside I was gleefully watching his paranoia unfold. "That's strange. Have you talked to her about it?" I asked, pretending to be interested. "Yeah, but she just brushes it off. It's like she's not even taking it seriously," he replied, frustration evident in his voice. I leaned in, lowering my voice. "You know, I overheard her talking about some strategy she's planning with Kyle. Just be careful, man. I don't want you to get blindsided." That was my final jab, and I could see the doubt creeping into Mike's mind. As we finished our drinks, I felt a strange mix of satisfaction and unease. I had succeeded in turning my best friend against my wife, but at what cost? I began to wonder if I was losing myself in this elaborate web of revenge. The emotional weight of it all hit me hard. Each day, I found myself grappling with the reality that I was playing with people's lives. I started to realize that while I was having fun pulling off this elaborate revenge plot, I was also making myself into someone I didn't recognize. I knew the time was coming when I would have to confront my feelings head-on. It wouldn't be long before the game became too complicated to manage. But for now, I was riding the wave of manipulation, enjoying every moment of it. Little did I know that the true consequences of my actions were just around the corner. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself entrenched in my petty revenge against Lisa and Mike. I had woven a tangled web of deceit, and the thrill of the game kept me enthralled. Yet, there was a gnawing sense of discontent lurking beneath the surface. Each time I played my part, pretending to be the supportive husband or the concerned friend, I felt a piece of my integrity slip away. Still, the adrenaline rush of manipulation hard to resist, and I was determined to see my plan through to the end. One evening, Lisa and I were curled up on the couch watching a movie. Everything seemed normal, but I could sense the tension between us. She was distracted, her mind clearly elsewhere. I decided to push a little just to see how far her guilt would go. "Hey, you've been spending a lot of time with Mike lately. You two seem to be inseparable. What's going on?" She paused, biting her lip. "Oh, come on, Jake, it's just gaming." "It's not like that. The defensiveness in her voice told me everything I needed to know. I was getting under her skin, and I loved it. "Right, just gaming," I said, maintaining a neutral expression. "But you know I'm always here for you, right? If you ever want to talk about anything, I mean anything." I was laying it on thick, and it felt good to watch her squirm. That night, as I lay in bed, I received a message notification from my gaming account. It was Mike again, still believing he could confide in me. "Hey man, things are getting really weird with Lisa. She's been acting strange. I don't know what to think anymore." I couldn't help but feel a rush of exhilaration. "Just keep your guard up, Mike. Maybe she's not the person you think she is," I replied, planting seeds of doubt that would only grow. But the thrill of control began to sour with each passing day. I watched as Lisa became more uncomfortable, her guilt manifesting in subtle ways. She started forgetting little things, and her usual vibrancy was dimming. I'd catch her staring off into space, lost in thought, and part of me felt terrible. It was clear she was struggling with the weight of her actions, and I knew I was partly responsible for it. Then one fateful night, everything came crashing down. I had been in my room, gaming late into the night, when I heard Lisa's phone pinging with messages. The notifications were coming in fast, and my curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed her phone from the table, my heart racing as I unlocked it. What I found made my blood run cold. She had been texting Mike about meeting up for drinks, wanting to clear the air. There were also messages from Kyle discussing how she had been feeling overwhelmed and needed someone to talk to. I felt a surge of anger mixed with heartbreak. Here I was, trying to expose their affair while she still felt the need to reach out to them. I confronted her, unable to contain my rage. "So what's this about meeting up with Mike? You can't even be honest with me." Her face paled, and I could see the panic in her eyes. "Jake, please, I just want to talk things over with him." "It's not what you think." I slammed the phone down on the table. "You think I'm just going to sit here while you two plot your next moves? I'm done with this charade, Lisa." She broke down, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry, I messed up, okay? I didn't know how to handle everything. You were pulling away, and I felt so lost." For a moment, I saw a glimpse of the woman I had fallen in love with. But that feeling was short-lived, replaced by anger and betrayal. "You think this is about me pulling away? You're the one who chose to cheat on me with my best friend." We continued to argue, voices raised, accusations flying back and forth. It was messy, chaotic, and emotionally draining. I felt my resolve crumbling. The adrenaline rush that had fueled my revenge was now replaced with an overwhelming sense of sadness and loss. I realized that, while I had set out to destroy their relationship, I was also destroying my own. After what felt like an eternity, we finally fell into silence. I could see the devastation on her face, and it mirrored my own. I had achieved what I thought I wanted, exposing her infidelity and causing her pain. But what I hadn't anticipated was the emotional toll it would take on me. As I sat there, I began to question everything. Was this who I wanted to be? The vengeful husband plotting against his wife and best friend? Or did I want to find a way to reclaim my life without dragging them down with me? I realized that I was at a crossroads. The choice between revenge and healing loomed before me, and I knew I had to decide how to move forward. In the days that followed, I wrestled with my emotions. I contemplated reaching out to Mike and confronting him directly, but I also wondered if I could simply walk away from it all, leave the past behind and start anew. The conflict within me was exhausting. I thought about how much I had invested in this relationship, and the idea of throwing it all away felt like losing a part of myself. I finally came to a decision. I needed to break free from this cycle of hurt. It was time to confront my feelings and decide what I truly wanted. Would I choose to forgive and move on, or would I let the anger consume me entirely? I knew I was at a crucial juncture, and the next step could define the rest of my life. After that intense confrontation with Lisa, I spent several days in a state of limbo. The emotional fallout from our fight left me feeling drained, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the revenge I had orchestrated had spiraled out of control. I wanted to be angry, to see her suffer as I had, but my heart wouldn't allow it. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at a long drop, unsure of whether to leap or step back. I had been avoiding Mike's calls and messages, but as the days passed, the weight of the silence between us hung heavy. I knew I had to confront him. There was no escaping the inevitable. The idea of meeting him again filled me with dread and anticipation. I could picture the look on his face when he found out that I knew about the affair. One evening, I decided to invite him over under the guise of wanting to hang out as friends. Even in my anger, I realized that Mike had been my confidant for years. I relied on him, and he had let me down in the worst possible way. But there was still a part of me that wanted to understand why he would betray me like that. When he arrived, I could see the tension in his posture. He greeted me with a hesitant smile, but I could tell he was walking on eggshells. We made small talk, but the air in the room was thick with unspoken words. After a few moments, I took a deep breath and decided to cut to the chase. "Mike, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady but firm. His expression shifted from casual to serious. "Okay, man, what's up?" I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "I know about you and Lisa." His face paled, and for a moment I thought he might choke on his drink. "What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about." "Cut the crap, Mike. I saw the messages. I know you two have been seeing each other behind my back." The words tumbled out in a rush, fueled by a mix of anger and disappointment. He shifted uncomfortably in his seat, clearly panicking. "Jake, I can explain. It wasn't supposed to happen that way." "That's the same excuse Lisa gave me," I interrupted, my voice rising. "What kind of friend are you, man? You're supposed to have my back, not sleep with my wife." He hung his head, shame washing over him. "I was weak, okay? We both were. It just happened. It wasn't planned." I felt a mixture of anger and pity for him. "You think that makes it any better? You took everything from me. The trust, the friendship, the love I had for Lisa. You've destroyed it all." Mike looked up at me, desperation in his eyes. "I know I messed up, but I don't want to lose you as a friend. We can fix this." "Fix it?" I scoffed. "You think I can just forget everything and move on like nothing happened? This isn't just about us. It's about the betrayal of a friendship that I thought was solid. You've shattered that." "Jake, I'm so sorry. I'll talk to Lisa. I'll end it. I just want to make things right," he pleaded, but the sincerity in his voice fell flat. I shook my head. "You don't get it, do you? It's not just about ending things with her. It's about recognizing the damage you've done." We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of our conversation pressing down on us. I could see the cracks in Mike's facade, and for a brief moment I almost felt sorry for him. But then I remembered the hurt and betrayal, and my resolve hardened. "You need to leave," I said, my voice cold. He opened his mouth to protest, but I raised my hand to cut him off. "No, just go. I'll figure things out, but I can't be around you right now." As he left, I felt an odd mix of relief and emptiness. I had confronted Mike, but there was still so much unresolved within me. I realized that while he had betrayed me, I had also allowed myself to be consumed by revenge against both him and Lisa. I was trapped in a cycle of anger that was only hurting me further. That night I finally broke down and confronted my emotions. I pulled out a notebook I had started writing in during the turmoil, pouring out my thoughts and feelings. I wrote about my love for Lisa, the dreams we'd shared, and the deep pain of betrayal. I expressed my anger toward Mike, how I felt like I had lost a brother. But more importantly, I wrote about my desire to heal, to reclaim my life from the shadows of anger and hurt. Eventually, I made a decision. I could no longer dwell in this state of revenge and bitterness. I needed to confront Lisa. One last time, not to seek vengeance but to find closure. I realized that whether or not we could salvage our relationship, I needed to take control of my own life and emotions. The next day, I called Lisa and asked to meet. I wanted to talk, to lay everything out on the table without the games and manipulation. I knew it was time to face the truth head-on, whatever that truth might be. I was determined to find a way forward, even if it meant starting from scratch. As I prepared myself for this conversation, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could find a way to heal from this betrayal and rediscover who I was beyond the hurt. It was time to reclaim my life, one way or another. Meeting Lisa felt surreal. I had spent so much time building up to this moment, concocting plans for revenge and manipulating events in my favor. But now, as I sat across from her in a small cafe, all that faded into the background. What mattered now was the raw truth of our relationship and what had been lost. She arrived looking nervous, her eyes darting around the cafe as if searching for an escape route. When our eyes met, I could see the weight of guilt and confusion etched on her face. I gestured for her to sit, and she did so tentatively, biting her lip as she waited for me to speak. I wanted to talk about everything that's happened, I began, keeping my tone steady. I know things have been chaotic between us, and I need to understand where we stand. Lisa nodded, her fingers fidgeting with the edge of the table. Jake, I'm so sorry for what I did. I can't even begin to express how much I regret it. I was lost and confused, and I didn't handle things the way I should have. Her apology felt hollow at first, but I pushed aside the anger and focused on her words. I need you to be honest with me, Lisa. Why did you cheat? What was going through your mind? She took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. I thought I was unhappy, but I see now that it was more about me feeling insecure and alone. I didn't realize how much I was pushing you away. Until it was too late. When I started talking to Mike, it was like an escape. I thought it would help fill the void. I nodded, trying to process what she was saying, but it didn't help. It only made things worse. You chose to betray my trust, to betray our vows. I know, she whispered, her voice breaking. And I can't take it back. I wish I could, but I can't change what I did. But I want to try to fix things. I want to earn your trust back. Can it really be fixed? I asked, feeling the heaviness in my chest. You've hurt me in ways that I can't just overlook. Trust isn't something that can be rebuilt overnight. I understand, she replied, her voice firm now. I know it's going to take time, but I'm committed to doing whatever it takes. I'll go to counseling. I'll do the work. Just please give me a chance to show you how serious I am. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, and it forced me to reflect on my own feelings. I had spent so much time focused on revenge and anger that I hadn't allowed space for healing. Could I really consider reconciliation? Did I still want to fight for our marriage? After a long pause, I took a deep breath. I'm willing to talk about working things out, but it won't be easy for either of us. I need you to be completely honest from here on out, and I need time to process everything we've been through. Trust is earned, and right now, I feel like I'm starting from scratch. She nodded, relief washing over her face. I'll do everything in my power to prove to you that I can be trusted again. That conversation marked a turning point for both of us. It was just the beginning of what would be a long and challenging journey. We attended counseling together, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like we were genuinely working towards something. We learned to communicate better and confront the issues that had led to the rift in the first place. As the weeks turned into months, I began to see changes in Lisa, and I also found myself changing. I started focusing on my own personal growth, finding new hobbies, and reconnecting with old friends. I realized that while Lisa and Mike had hurt me deeply, I had the power to rebuild my life regardless of the outcome of our relationship. The hardest part of the process was letting go of the resentment that had consumed me. It took effort, but I learned that holding onto anger only trapped me in a cycle of negativity. Instead, I chose to focus on the future, understanding that forgiveness was a gift I gave myself, not just to Lisa. Eventually, I reached a point where I felt ready to move forward, whether that meant staying with Lisa or going our separate ways. I had learned that life is too short to let bitterness define me. I could either let the past weigh me down or choose to rise above it. One evening, I took Lisa out for dinner at the same cafe where we had our difficult conversation. As we sat across from each other, I could see the progress we had made. We laughed, reminisced, and even spoke about our dreams for the future. There was still uncertainty, but it felt different, lighter. At the end of the night, as we walked out together, I knew we had a long road ahead, but I felt hopeful. I realized that while I had once sought revenge, I had emerged from the ashes with a newfound strength. I had been tested in ways I never imagined, but through it all, I had discovered my resilience. And so I took a deep breath, stepping into the future with my head held high. Whether it was together or apart, I was ready to embrace whatever came next. Life was a game, and I was determined to play it on my own terms, wiser and stronger than before.